As you've heard throughout the day, it's about transformation of businesses, how we work, and how IT works. We're going to dive into some interesting conversations with Ted Schadler, who's a superstar from Forrester Research. He's going to dive into conversations about mobile collaboration, what's going on with all of these new technologies, and I am super thrilled to introduce him to the stage.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Who wants to stand up and stretch? Come on, stand up. While you're standing up, let me see if you've been paying attention here. Do I have a clicker? What are the 3 S's that Aaron told us about? Sync, security, social. Okay. Now, I'm going to talk about the mobile shift. Let's see if you've been paying attention to that, too. How many, what's the name of the new Amazon tablet? Yeah, that's the one. What's the name of it? Fire. How much does it sell for? $199. How about the Amazon, the Kindle Touch? How much is that selling for? Right, and what's the way in which it's touch? How is it, what's the technology for the touch screen? Infrared. Okay. Wow. You heard Aaron. You know, you can sit down if you want. You heard Aaron, right? You know what his message was, but you were paying attention to something going on in New York, and you have a lot of detailed information about that already. You were in the moment. You were task-specific. You were context-rich. You got very smart when you wanted to be smart about something you cared about. Is it relevant to your work life? It is. It is relevant to your work life. That's why you care about it. It's relevant to your work life, and you care about it because technology enters the home first. And you know that those Amazon fires are going to show up in your organization, and someone's going to want to light them up through ActiveSync. You know it's going to happen. So you're very smart to be paying attention to what's going on in that consumer market because the worm's turned, permanent shift has happened. Good technology will always enter the home first. So, very clever. I'm glad you're paying attention. We're going to do 2 things today, and I know it's sad because we all want to eat lunch. I do too. But I'm going to share a little bit of information with you, and then we're going to have 3 great people speaking, 2 of which I think, or maybe all 3, you can get a chance to do deeper dives with later in the day. So, navigating the mobile shift. Only an empowered employee can serve the needs of an empowered customer. Systems of engagement, I love that concept. Jeffrey Moore, I'm honored to be sharing a stage with you. This is the background concept behind consumerization. It's why consumerization matters. Customers are empowered. Only an empowered employee can serve the needs of that empowered customer. So that's the book. Forrester collects a lot of data. This is a survey that I created about 3 years ago. We call it our workforce survey data. This is just one tiny snapshot out of a new study, 5,000 U.S. information workers. These are the devices people use. A couple things to draw from this chart. 11% have tablets already. U.S. information workers, there's 75 million of them. 11% are already using tablets for work. Look at the overlap in devices. Tablets, smartphones, laptops, and desktops. So it's a 4-device world out there for your employees. Now, the desktop might be at home. It might not be in the office. But that is a very challenging environment in which to operate. Now, where did these smartphones come from? Only 1 in 5 was provided by their IT organization. 4/5 of the mobile devices were selected from and/or purchased by the employee on their own. Almost half bought it without even thinking about what their companies supported. Another example of where the power and the technology has shifted. It's shifted to the individual. Of course, it leads to a mad, multi-platform world. How many of you are already supporting iPhone and BlackBerry and Android? Raise your hand. And how many of you are supporting iPad? How many of you are supporting BYO PCs? Yeah, not very many, right? We've got a few clicks to get down the road before we can do that. It will happen. It should happen because we're not really in the business of managing PCs. It's not differentiating or even neutralizing for our organizations. However, we're also just getting started. 159 million smartphones in the US only. You can certainly multiply that number by a factor of 3 globally by 2015. Tablets, 82 million. We'll be revising that upward now that we know that the Kindle's going to sell for, the Fire is going to sell for $200. My colleague will fire this one up. I bet it'll go up another 10 million units by 2015. And about a third of those, 40% of them roughly, are used at work. So that means 30 or 40 million tablets in the workplace by 2015. And then there are these e-readers. And as we know, e-readers are getting more and more powerful because they're running Android and now they're touchscreen. So pretty soon you'll see those green line and that blue line start to converge. A lot of complexity in the environment, a lot of choice of individuals, massive growth. This is going to lead to a very dramatic change in what your IT systems have to support. Instant on, all-day life, immediate access, that's the expectation, coupled with apps. They could be HTML5 apps, they could be native apps, I don't really care. Means that the convenience factor soars. You could stay in touch with the news out of New York coming from Jeff Bezos without really thinking about it. Not a high-hassle activity. You didn't have to log on, you didn't have to search for a network, you didn't have to get a security password, yada, yada, yada. All you had to do was turn on your tablet or your smartphone. When it's convenient to do things, we do it a lot. That will drive an explosion in what we call the app intensity. So this is a picture of the rise of app intensity. What app intensity is a measure of the number of times a server is hit by an application. So the data's all over the place here, right? 60% of Facebook transactions are mobile. I don't know what the box number is, but I'll bet it's about 2/3 of them. Let's see, who else? Oh, Salesforce. 60% of Salesforce transactions are mobile. It's just, when it's easy to do, you do a lot more of it. What this means practically is your systems aren't ready to deal with the transaction load, with a multi-device, with the BYO, with a different security model. It's going to be extremely challenging to respond to if you kind of use a traditional model. We're not ready to do it. We've been thinking about the apps. We've been thinking about multi-device. We've not been thinking about all the stuff below the waterline. So we have to think about the stuff below the waterline either ourselves or through a third party. So high quality, convenient access, any location, low latency on any device. Sounds like a box advertisement. Client server is not going to get us there. We need a new architecture. I'm blowing through this because I want to get to our panelists. We call it the mobile app internet or the app internet. The cloud is a critical component of the way solutions have to be delivered, data has to be delivered, access has to be delivered. We have to abandon the idea that we can have a LAN environment that's secured and other. We have to throw away the secure LAN environment and go immediately to other. And other in this case is cloud delivered, secured end-to-end, device, the connection and the data are secured. We have to design to that point because it's the only way to deal with the app intensity. It's the only way to deal with the location neutrality. It's the only way to deal with consumerization. It's the only way to deal with the demand for services that our employees have already figured out how to do. So that's why we care about cloud. Critical delivery component. All right, so I do collaboration. That's my gig. Clearly, all those same things have to apply in collaboration. I won't read these off to you. You can read them themselves. I set out to do an analysis of the collaboration vendors because I serve you, right? You're IT people, and I serve you. You're trying to wrestle with this consumerization issue where people are using their mobile devices to solve business problems, to collaborate, to work together, to work B2B, to work internally, and they're doing it without IT involvement for the most part. So I went out to look at all these vendors to say, how ready are you to run on mobile devices? How ready are you to run across all these platforms? How ready are you to support the needs of a work anywhere, anytime workforce? And as you might imagine, the traditional suppliers didn't even show up on the picture, and we instead had a whole new set of suppliers. Now, some traditional folks like WebEx here, for example, and AT&T Connect, and Salesforce is here, but you see a whole other set of suppliers. And when I went out to do this, we call this a Forrester wave. There's data behind this, and you can imagine the vendor's response to me going out and saying, here's what we're going to do. They basically said, well, these aren't enterprise vendors. I'm not Box is, but Dropbox isn't, Evernote isn't. I said, well, they are actually because your organizations are already using these suppliers. So whether you like it or not, these are enterprise vendors. And either you're going to support them, you're going to look the other way, or you're going to find an alternative. And this is where, now you know I'm on stage, those guys up in the right corner there, they actually address the security administration concerns that you need. So notably absent from this picture is Microsoft. I think they will get there. I'm not quite as bearish on on Microsoft's prospects as I think Aaron is. You probably aren't either, but they're not there today. Oh, I got too fast. I got ahead of myself. So I want to start with a panel. So that's what I brought. We're going to talk later. You can find me online and all kinds of other things.